Hello everyone and welcome back to One Soccer. I'm your host for today, Josh Deming, and this is our final edition of our Canadians Abroad Summer Series. The big leagues are returning next weekend, so we're going to be reverting back to our original format. So on the final edition of our summer series, we're going to be taking a look at Alfredo Davies winning a Super Cup, Stacchio winning a Super Cup, Peppel securing his move to Luton Town, and a lot more surrounding our Canadians playing abroad. Hopefully you guys are excited, and if you are, as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub, and let's get into the episode now. Alfredo Davies had the opportunity to win his first piece of silverware this season with Bayern Munich as they took on RB Leipzig in the German Super Cup, and what a final it was. Bayern had an incredible start to the match, going up 3-0 by halftime. It was cut back to 3-1 before Gnabry made it 4-1, and then two late goals made it 4-3 to open things right up towards the end, where Sané put the match to bed with a 5-3 win for Bayern, helping Alfredo Davies and Bayern lift another piece of silverware over RB Leipzig. Davies started the match and played all 90 minutes, playing very well in the left-hand side. They lined up in the 4-2-3-1, and we got the first look at what Bayern would look like without Robert Lewandowski, and Sadio Mane ended up scoring the goal as well. In the match, Davies was influential in two of the goals. He picked up an assist for the final one where Leroy Sané put the game to bed. And overall, it was a great start to the start of the season for Bayern Munich, picking up this silverware. There's going to be a few question marks around the back line, but with De Ligt coming in and Nagelsmann having a little bit more control in this back four, he's hopefully going to be able to shift it the way he wants it to be, allow the players to do what they can do, and really solidify this back three/back four. Last season didn't really go according to plan for Davies after picking up COVID and missing a lot of matches. He was hoping to get back to being fully fit this season and playing the majority of the matches, and this is a great start for him. He was very influential throughout the match. He looked very good, very fit, and he's not only a class act on the pitch, but he's a class act off the pitch. Davies took to Twitter and tweeted out, "Canada welcomed me and my family and gave us the opportunity for a better life. It enabled me to live my dreams. It's a great honor to play for Canada, and I want to give back. So I've decided that I will donate this year's World Cup earnings to charity." What a gesture this is by Alfredo Davies. There's still a lot of tension to see what's going to happen with the World Cup earnings between the men's and women's national team. But right now, Davies took this part into his own hands, decided to donate to charity, and he's a big reason why a lot of young athletes should look up to a player as just sincere as Alfredo Davies. Alfredo Davies wasn't the only Canadian to lift silverware over the weekend, as Stacchio's FC Porto took on Tondela in the Portuguese Super Cup, where they went on to win 3-0 to lift their first piece of silverware this season. Stacchio should be in for a big year, as last season he got brought in on loan in January. He finished out the season, didn't get a ton of minutes, but some of the big pieces this year for FC Porto moved on, and Stacchio has the opportunity to make a big impact in that midfield. He was substituted into the match on the 70th minute and saw the final 20 or so minutes, and he looked very good, very comfortable, and I think with a lot of opportunity that hopefully Stacchio will get this season will allow him to just settle into this role, play in that 4-4-2 system, and dominate the midfield like he does for the national team. It's not every day you get to see two Canadians lift a trophy on the same day, so a huge congratulations goes out to Alfredo Davies and Stacchio. Hopefully these Super Cup wins will allow their clubs as well as themselves to find good form and be in good shape leading up to this World Cup. Lille played their final friendly before their season kicks off against Cardiff, where they went on to win 1-0, but the interesting thing for me in this match was Jonathan David. When we've seen Jonathan David play for Lille so far in the 2 seasons that he was there, he mainly has played as a dual striker in a 4-4-2 system. Well, with Paulo Fonseca coming in here, we know that the 4-4-2 probably won't be used too much, if at all. The two systems that Paulo Fonseca is going to be using is the 3-4-2-1 system, as well as the 4-2-3-1 system. And in this match against Cardiff, we saw David play in 3 different positions. He started off the match in the 3-4-2-1 system, and he played as a dual cam with Angel Gomez. It allowed him to get on the ball a lot, he looked very creative, and you really saw the attributes of his passing game more than his pure finishing ability. As the game went on, they switched into a 4-2-3-1, and he moved out to the right-hand side, playing as a right attacking mid. You once again got to see Jonathan David use his speed down the side, interconnecting with some of his players, and having some decent runs as well. He finally ended off the match still in the 4-2-3-1 system, playing as a lone striker. So it's very interesting to see what Jonathan David could potentially bring this season. We're used to seeing him purely on his finishing abilities in that 4-4-2 system, but now we're going to be able to see him in multiple positions, playing down the wing, playing through the middle, and still playing as a striker for Paulo Fonseca. I think we're going to be able to see a whole different side of Jonathan David, because we have to remember in his time at Belgium with Ghent, he played as a cam before coming into this dual striker at Lille. So there's a lot of attributes to Jonathan David's game, not simply just scoring goals. If David stays at Lille for another season, I'm going to be very interested to see where he plays, whether it's down the right-hand side as a dual 10 up front as a striker, or maybe even a switch to a 3-4-1-2 so he can still play as that dual striker. There's a lot of attributes to Jonathan David's game that makes him a very well-rounded player, and I think Paulo Fonseca is definitely going to be able to utilize that this season. There are some reports stating that Samuellataku is being targeted by Toronto FC and the Vancouver Whitecaps. This is very interesting considering he just went to Turkey last season with Hatayspor and was one of the best left backs in the league. He was very consistent throughout the season. I think that he deserves some interest from around some of the big leagues in the world, and specifically as well in the Turkish league. Clubs like Besiktas, Fenerbahce, Galatasaray, and Trabzonspor should be interested in Samuellataku or potentially move to a Big 5 league. He's been killing it at the national team. He's been doing very well at club level, so it's very interesting to see that there's not that type of buy-in on a player like him right now, which is maybe why these links are surfacing. The MLS for Atakubi could be intriguing though, because there's 2 Canadian sides that are interested in signing him. With the World Cup coming up in 2026, going back home, being a focal point for one of these clubs could be interesting. Toronto FC is an interesting one because we know they're investing a lot of money in their club with Insigne, Bernardeschi, Kay, Henry, and of course Criscito, but they could still use some massive help down that left-hand side, whether it's at left wing back or left back, and Atakubi would be huge for this team. Now, whether the interest is actually there or not is up for debate, but there's no doubt that he could be huge for Toronto FC. The Vancouver Whitecaps one is an interesting link as well because he's originally played in the Vancouver Whitecaps system. He helped develop there before moving to Europe, so this homecoming could be massive as well. They could use some help down that side playing with that usual back 3. The left wing back role for Atakubi could be massive, and there's also the fact that they're playing in the CONCACAF Champions League. This could be a huge signing for this team to show ambition. There's some reports out there stating that Toronto would have been fun to watch in the Canadian Championship because of the big names. So Vancouver got and deserved this spot. So now it's time to see if they're able to blossom their team a little bit up. And if you're taking a look from the Canadian perspective, signing someone like Samuellataku will be huge for this team. He would do very well in my opinion as well with Julian Gressel now coming down that right-hand side. But in my opinion, I kind of want to see him stay in Turkey. If he could get a big move to one of the big Istanbul clubs or Trabzonspor, that could be massive for his development as well. He's a league he's comfortable with, and I don't think he's quite ready yet to come back to the MLS. But leading up to 2026, those 2 clubs could be very interesting if Atakubi does want to return to North America. Arabin Pepel has officially signed for Luton Town from Calvary FC for an undisclosed fee, and this is the biggest transfer in Canadian Premier League history, and it's amazing to see a player as young and talented as Pepel making his way to the championship. Pepel was born in England before coming over to Canada at a young age. He had a short spell at Calvary before going over to Getafe. He had some trials at a few different clubs, and then he returned to Calvary where he found goal-scoring form. He's done incredible in the Canadian Premier League this year, which got some interest and got the deal done. He signs for Luton Town, and his manager, Nathan Jones, had this to say with Pepel returning home after 14 years. He was born over here, but has gone to Canada and had a wonderful way of life over there. It may be a little different back over here, but I'm sure he'll adapt to that, and he'll quickly come into the reckoning here. And whatever he needs to get up to speed, we'll give him that. He's a wonderful kid, and we're really looking forward to working with him. Pepel seems very excited and up for the challenge, and he had this to add. It feels really good to finally get this done and be here. I'm so excited to finally come over and join Luton. Just in the short time I've been around the club, it is clear the goal of the team this year is to get promoted to the Premier League. If I can help in any way possible, that is my goal. What a massive opportunity this is for such a talented young player to join a club with Premier League ambitions who just came off a great season with a fantastic manager, and he's going to be joining a culture of players who know what it takes to get to the very top, and that will do nothing but wonderful things for this young talented player's development. Going from the Canadian Premier League to the Championship is a massive step, and knowing that the Premier League could be on the cards in the near future is huge for this player. But looking at the immediate future, there is an opportunity for Pepel to play. In Luton Town's first match of the season against Birmingham City, they drew 0-0, and in that match they played with a 3-5-2 system, which means that they play with 2 strikers. So Pepel has the opportunity to play as a dual striker, which is something that he'll be comfortable with, and knowing the fact that they have the opportunity to use 2 strikers every single time will give Pepel more of an opportunity to feature as opposed to they play with a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 system where there's only 1 striker playing. A colleague of mine, Emily Wilson, put out an article talking about 3 Canadian women's national team players who can make a blockbuster transfer this summer. Ashley Lawrence was the first name that caught my eye. The 27-year-old fullback for PSG has won a lot in her time in France. Her club are the current Coupe de France champions. She won the league title for the first time back in 2020-2021, and she reached the Champions League semifinals for 3 consecutive seasons. Her contract is ending in 2023, and similar to Khadijah Buchanan, she's won just about everything that there is to win in France, and she might be looking for a new challenge. Emily mentioned that a Champions League competing club in the Women's Super League would be an interesting landing spot for Lawrence. She mentioned both Manchester United and Manchester City would come to mind. I like this move a lot for Lawrence if it were to happen. I think a place like Manchester could be huge for her. She's won just about everything that there was to win in France, and a new challenge could bring a fresh mindset to a very, very talented player. The next player Wilson talks about is Jade Riviere, who is still in college at the University of Michigan, and she's looking to eye up a professional career in soccer. Riviere confirmed that playing in the United States, England, or France would be of interest to her. We know when taking a look at England, Chelsea could be an interesting option, already having two very talented Canadian women's national team stars there in Jessie Fleming and Kadisha Buchanan. But Wilson goes on to state that if she was going to take a look at the United States, the Houston Dash could be an interesting fit for her. Wilson states that Riviere is a natural replacement for Alicia Chapman with the Canadian women's national team and could do the same at club level, while also linking up with two other Canadians in Nichelle Prince as well as Sophia Schmidt. The third and final Canadian women's national team star in Wilson's article is Chloe Lacasse. Wilson talks about the 29-year-old who was recently named Benfica's Women's Player of the Year, is a growing talent in the Portuguese side and could potentially get some interest once her contract expires in 2024. Wilson states that she would like to see her get transferred to a more competitive league such as the NWSL, to Germany, or to Spain, and specifically talks about Wolfsburg, Bayern Munich, and Atletico Madrid being good fits. It's being reported that Ikson Ubo is about to finalize his move back to Troyes. At the beginning of last season, he was transferred to Genk, and things just didn't quite go his way before being loaned out to Troyes for the second half of the season, and he was an immediate hit. He helped them avoid relegation, he scored 5 goals in 14 appearances, and he started just about every match. He then went back from his loan spell to Genk, and he was told that he was no longer needed and needed to find a club. There's rumors that Burnley was potentially interested in him, and maybe the championship clubs would come looking, but at the end of the day, right now, with the deadline closing down and the season starting, Ikson Ubo needs to find a home and needs to find it quick. Now, this move to Troyes is a good one for many reasons, but it's the fact that it is a World Cup year and every player knows that. If he was to join a championship side, that season has already started and it would make it even harder for him to come in and fight into that starting 11. Returning back to Troyes, this is a club that he's familiar with. There's players he's familiar with, a system he's familiar with. Everything is comfortable for him to return to this club and become a hit again. The details of the transfer is that Ubo signed a 3-year deal and Troyes will pay 5.7 million euros for the player. Genk actually make money on this transfer, and 5.7 is a fair amount of money to spend on Ubo, which should suggest that Ubo is going to play a big role for Troyes this season. Hopefully he'll be able to walk back into the starting 11 like he did last time and get on good form leading up to this World Cup. Jacob Schaaferberg has been loaned out to Nashville for the rest of the 2022 MLS season. As part of the deal, Nashville will also acquire a 2022 international roster slot from TFC, who will receive $225,000 in general allocation money as part of the deal. Nashville also have the option to make Schaaferberg's loan transfer permanent in 2023. Nashville general manager Mike Jacobs had this to say at a club press release. Jacob is a versatile wide player with rapid pace that makes him a constant threat. We are excited to add him as he has the potential to provide a different dimension to our group. At a young age, he also has excellent experience in MLS as well as in representing his country. This move makes a lot of sense for Jacob Schaaferberg as he was getting minutes before at TFC and he was always around that Canadian men's national team call-up, but right now he's not going to get those type of minutes with the signings of Federico Bernardeschi as well as Lorenzo Insigne, and that switch in shape, Schaaferberg will be on the bench looking in and maybe appearing off the bench. This type of move will give him the opportunity to break into a Nashville squad, a good Nashville squad with a talented manager, compete for playoffs, hopefully find some form, and give him a shot to compete for a spot at the upcoming World Cup. To end off the episode, we're going to take a look at some Canadian men's national team stars' quick hits. Theo Corbeanu signed a new 4-year deal with Wolverhampton before getting shipped out on loan to Blackpool. This is a fantastic move for Theo, as last season he spent the loan at the first half of the season with Sheffield Wednesday and then the second half with MK Dons in League One. He did well to grow as a player, but now playing in the Championship will give him a bigger opportunity to take that next step. Blackpool is a solid side who did well in the Championship last season, and he made his debut for them over the weekend. Corbeanu had a quick cameo as he was substituted into the match on the 83rd minute, and he was playing in a 4-3-3 system as Blackpool went on to beat Reading 1-0. Playing in a 4-3-3 system will be ideal for Corbeanu because it allows him to play as a left wing or a right wing. At the beginning of last season with Sheffield Wednesday, he played as a wingback that wasn't suiting his style. When he played for MK Dons at the second half of the season, he was able to play as a winger and you saw what he's capable of. If he's able to get consistent reps this season playing on the wing, it could give him a good opportunity to find some form, find a position that he's able to play in, and maybe squeak into that World Cup spot. On the flip side of that result for Reading, Junior Hoylett started and played all 90 minutes down the right-hand side, and he had a very good game as well. This is going to be a bit of a tricky season for Reading as they're one of the favorites to go down, but hopefully the experience of Hoylett will help them be able to avoid relegation, which will be the goal. But regardless, one thing is for certain, we're going to see Hoylett getting a ton of minutes and hopefully being on good form leading up to this World Cup because he's an experienced player, he's a valuable player for both Reading and Canada, and has a big part to play for both. Canadian men's national team eligible player Daniel Jefferson got the start over the weekend as he started and played 68 minutes as a striker in a 3-4-1-2 system as Sheffield United went on to lose against Watford 1-0. This is a very good start to the season for Jefferson to actually be able to start a match as he spent the first half of the season on loan in League One last season where he looked very good. He then got recalled and wasn't able to get a ton of minutes. So to see him start the first game of the season is a really good progress. We're going to have to wait and see where his international future lies, but we know that Canada is going to be keeping an eye on him and maybe one day in the near future he's able to keep progressing. He could be a player that represents the Maple Leaf. Kyle Larin once again started on the bench over the weekend for Club Brugge. He was substituted into the match on the 77th minute but was not able to help them overcome their deficit. Eupen went on to win the match 2-1, so Club Brugge start off the season with a 1-0-1 record. Charles de Ketelaere was sold to Milan, and Noah Lang is still linked to a lot of big clubs from around the world as Club Brugge lined up in the 3-5-2 system, and if Lang does get that move, it will open up an opportunity for Kyle Larin to play a little bit more, because right now it's seeming like he's on the outside looking into that starting 11, so hopefully he's able to find a little bit of form to break in that starting 11, or maybe another big sale from Club Brugge could lead to him starting very soon. That's all the time we have for on this edition of our Canadians Abroad Summer Series. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed it, and if you did, as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub as well. We've hit our 50,000 subscriber goal. The next target is 100,000 subscribers. And while you're at it, be sure to head over to One Soccer for all the best Canadian soccer coverage. My name is Josh Deming. I hope you guys enjoy this, and we'll see you guys soon. Cheers, friends.